Welcome to Steve's Place at 6 p.m. Pacific. And tonight we're going to have a great guest coming from clean around the other side of the earth. It'll be Don Paris, and he'll be teaching us about radionics. In the meantime, we got a little bit of housekeeping to go. I want to remind everybody that we do have last year's conference available. Just go to our website and click on this logo, and it can take you to the how-to page where you can take and you can purchase like T-shirts, get the last year's conference. It's $99 one-time purchase. Once you get it, you have it forever. And you can even give us a donation if you'd like to help us out. You know, we on the green button there, so that goes directly to us. Anyway, so that's from last year. And then I'd like to remind everyone about the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. It's a free subscription. Uh, but we do have a membership, in which we have like over 1,500 videos, and which you can take and subscribe to. Become a member. It's $9.99 a month. The subscription has a couple hundred available. Um, and if you like to, if you know what conferences you missed in the past, we have like about 30 or 40 of them. You click on the conference directory, it'll bring up all the directories. This is all at testtech.info. We also have a speaker directory. You can pull up a speaker and see all the videos that we have for that particular speaker. So, again, I'd like to remind you to go for the $9.99 a month purchase, because it really helps us out year round. And coming up soon will be Tesla Tech 2025, and that will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'll be having the details on that probably within the next 2 weeks, as far as the hotel itself and how to sign up for that. In the meantime, you can register and get 30% off if you register now. So I encourage everyone to get registered. And if you sign up an extra person, you get an extra 5%. And while I'm doing things, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, on the YouTube below the video on YouTube, because that will help us get more attention to the speakers we have. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Don, and welcome to the show, Don. And we'd
Thanks,
like to
Steve.
tell a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, we've been at the same shows for 35 years. Um, we used to go back in the day to the Global Sciences, USPA, United States Psychotronics Association, um, back in the late 80s. And I think we probably run into each other there, but at the time probably didn't know each other, but got reacquainted then last year again. Well, I've been to several Tesla conferences, but I've been in this field for, 30, 36, 37 years, I guess. It's going on 37 years now, of radionics. Basically, that's my specialty, is radionics, which is action at a distance, being able to analyze and balance uh, subtle energy fields at a distance. And yeah, so that's basically what I do. I live in Bali half of the year or more, and then we're still in the States, on an island north of Seattle for part of the year, and we go back and forth and try to stay out of the cold, gloomy weather in Seattle.
I'm surprised the clarity of your video signal is better than some of these in the United States here. So,
Yeah, well, we've got fiber optic here. See, what happened in Bali is that they were like behind the technology curve, right? Nobody had line telephones here. There were never any line telephones put in, right? There was one at the airport, and then when the internet started, they just started with fiber optic. Well,
wow.
they started with cell phone towers, so that they had 2G, 3G, and 4G. But then they just laid all the fiber optic everywhere. So we've got like great high speed fiber optic.
Wow, that's great. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and okay, I got to get rid of this, and then bring. Ah,
Is that working?
there you
There we
go.
go.
Okay,
Okay.
so without further ado, I'm just going to back out here and just go ahead and just start your presentation.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about radionics because that's kind of my specialty. And the best kept secret, maybe not with this group. I mean, there might be a lot of you that already know about radionics, but in the normal world out there, um, radionics is a pretty best kept secret. And I want to go through a really brief history. I don't want to bore everybody that already knows this, but there are a lot of people that don't know where this came from. But before I get there, I want to talk a little bit about a new movie that's coming, and it's called Frequency: The Future of Everything. And this is a new film by Zappi Zappelin and Kaya Roman. And their last film was The Reality of Truth, which you guys should check out on YouTube if you haven't. They've had more than 20 million views on this video, not just on YouTube, but overall on all the streaming platforms. And it's a great movie. They do really good work. And this one is going to be about radionics and frequencies in general, subtle energy frequencies. I like this one from Albert Einstein. Future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. Again, same thing with Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so that's what we work with. And so in this video, it's going to be actually more like a full-length movie, a little bit like what the bleep was actually, of interviews, but work together to create a story about it. And some of the people that are in it, besides myself, is Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, who was last year at the Tesla conference, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I've also been with before. Dr. Sunny Bhavsar is from India, and he's my business partner over there in India working with Radionics. Lynn McTaggart's going to be on, Nassim Harriman, Roland McCready from HeartMath, who I think he might have been at the Tesla conference before too. I've seen him somewhere. Maybe it was USPA. Anyway, lots and lots of great people. Rick Allen was the drummer, is or was the drummer for Def Leppard. He's got some very amazing stories to tell about how after he was in an accident, lost his arm, he continued drumming and like worldwide tours. I mean, just amazing, amazing stuff. So anyway, this is a movie that's coming out this summer, and it's pretty much done in terms of filming. They're still filming the last few people this next week, and then it's full on into editing. A lot of it's done already. Anyway, keep your eyes and ears open for Frequency. It's going to be a great movie. I'm really excited about it. I mean, super excited about it. So, what is radionics? Basically, this is kind of a definition which isn't that great, but basically, it's radionics uses electronic equipment that focuses our intention and attention to create changes in health, wellness, wealth, and our ability to manifest. And I think that's it. Kind of boils it down. It's much more complex than that, but that's kind of how it boils down to. Is that we're using and we can create these radionic scalar frequencies with our brain if we turn our brain halves on properly and collapse the waveform, which I'll get into a little bit. Um, how to collapse those waveforms and how that happens and what is a real scalar electromagnetic field. But before we go into this, please read over this. Uh, Anything that I talk about here, if I use any names that sound like diseases or health or diagnosis or treatment. We only work with informational fields. We do not work on the physical body, et cetera, et cetera. Go ahead and read through that. And if you want to do the replay and read through that, that would be good. So you know that we're not making any medical claims for this. So here's a real quick overview. Now I'm gonna blast through this, but where did radionics start? It really started with Dr. Albert Abrams, and he what he did was how he got there. This was his first instrument called the Pathoclast, but how he got there was a percussion method, and this was common at the time. They would percuss the abdomen and find out if there were any sore spots, and that would lead them to believe they might have a problem in that area. But he had a weird experience one day where he was tapping on the abdomen, and one area had this really hollow sound. I mean, it sounded like a drum, and it just puzzled him. So he had the patient come in the next day, and it wasn't there. And he got to thinking about, well, what's different? What changed? The only thing that he could think of that changed was that the patient faced west when he did this percussion. So he turned the patient west, and the sound came back. And when he turned him in a different direction, it went away. And this led him to think that it must be something that had to do with the electromagnetic field of the earth, and that it must be a magnetic or electronic reaction. And so it led him step by step to creating this equipment. And then he was able to eventually delineate the hollow sound depending on where it showed up on the abdomen to correlate that with different disease patterns. He was highly successful. He trained hundreds of other doctors in this method, and eventually AMA was started. And in the charter of the AMA, which I have seen that original charter, um, the charter of the AMA was founded. The founding purpose of the AMA was to eliminate electromedicine and homeopathy, and they really have worked hard at that. And so they basically shut him down and stopped him from teaching. And I don't know if they put him in jail, but he basically died penniless. And like Ruth Drown. Ruth Drown had the same experience. Now Ruth, she added the stick plate to it. When Abrams was doing his percussion, at some point along the way, he found that their stomach would wear out and they wouldn't have that sound anymore. So he changed to using a glass rod. You know how if you rub it on your hair, it'll pick up little pieces of paper. And he thought that there was some kind of a electrostatic process going on in this electromagnetic field, and so it would cause a dragging sensation on the stomach over that area. And so she then moved that over to the instrument that she developed. She had worked with Abrams, and it became what we call the stick plate. And eventually he started doing remote work as well. He wouldn't have the patient come in. He would use a drop of blood, and she continued that as well. But she really added the stick plate, and she ended up in jail as well. As you talked about in your thing, a lot of suppression in this area, that's for sure. George Delaware was buying his instruments from Ruth Drown. She was making them, and he lived in England. After World War II broke out, he couldn't get instruments anymore. Everything shut down. There was no more sending things like this over to England. So he built his own, and he integrated the stick plate onto the instrument. And when they tried to shut him down, when it went to court, they had set him up, blah, 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 like they always do. And the woman complained and said she wasn't healed or whatever. He was making fraud. And this machine was completely fraudulent. And when it went to court there, the judge's wife had been cured of cancer with George's device. And so the judge said, he threw it out of court and he made it legal in England. So it's legal to work with radionics in England underneath of a regular medical doctor. And then T. Galen Hieronymus got the first patent on radionic equipment. This is one of his devices. And he had the separated stick plate. He went back to the separated stick plate. He did not integrate it like George did. But one of the things that Galen did is he took the photos of the 3 astronauts from Apollo 11 and measured their vital signs every hour on the hour from here to the moon, and then sent that 500-page report to NASA. And it matched hour by hour by hour with what NASA was taking on the spacecraft. And I heard from one of my SE5 practitioners that he had a friend that was an astronaut later on. This was much later, after Apollo 11. And one day, during their training, they took him into the special room. It was like a big turntable, and he had to stand stark naked on this turntable, and they took a 3-dimensional holographic image of him. And when he went out of the door, he said, so what was that for? And they said, well, in case you get sick while you're out in space, we can fix you. So they do it on the sly, let's say, at least anecdotally. And that all started with T. Galen Hieronymus. Now, a good friend of Galen was Bill Lawson. And Bill Lawson took these radionic concepts that everybody was working on at the time in the late 50s, 60s, into the 70s and 80s. And he built the first digital radionic equipment, and that was the Digitron was the first digital unit. He had several analog units before that, the Vitatron, Nutritron. Um, and eventually that became the SE5 and eventually the SE5 Plus. And I worked with Bill for about 25 years before he passed away. And then when he died, then his widow asked me to basically carry on his legacy. And so after the SE5 Plus, then I reinvented the SE5 into the SE5 1000 and then into the SE5 2000. And one of the things that I've done to besides just upgrading it and making it really user friendly and compatible with today's computers is to create the precision stick detector. The stick response happens when you're rubbing on this plate and your fingers, you're basically it's like an antenna. It's like dowsing, right? So if you're using a dowsing rod and you go over water and you feel the rod going down or it bends down, the rod is not bending down. Your muscles are responding to that signal. So it's basically an extension to your own nervous system. And same thing with the precision stick detector. As you're rubbing on the plate and you hit a resonance peak, your fingers would stick on the plate. Now, some people had difficulty feeling that. They would I could watch it and I could see it. I could see it sticking or grabbing their fingers on the plate. But that didn't happen for everybody, is that they wouldn't be able to see it or feel it that directly. And so what I did was I invented a little detector called the precision stick detector to where you can actually see it on a graph here over on the lower right hand side. So when you hit that resonance peak, you can see it and the light comes on the precision stick detector, and on the computer software you hear a little tone, so it beeps when you hit that resonance peak. So you know exactly where that uh, peak of resonance is when you're tuning into something at a distance. Because like for example, let's say I was checking chakra alignment and I'm the operator of the equipment and my client is on the other side of the planet. I might be in Bali, they might be in America, right? So they're at a distance. I have no physical contact with them. And I use a photograph inside in the SE5 or in the software, either way. And when I'm dialing up or dialing, in this case, it's a positive tuning, chakra alignment. Its ideal state should be 100%. So I'm rubbing on the plate and I start changing the amplitude knob, going down slowly, slowly. And when I hit a resonance peak, let's say it hit at 92%, you get an actual spike in the precision stick detector readout. And that shows you exactly then when to stop turning that dial. In the software, we automatically lock it, so there's no guesswork. But if you're not using the software with it, then you know when you get the light that comes on. If you're in standalone mode and you're not using the computer at all, you hit that resonance peak and it'll light up a light on there, and you know when to stop turning the dial. So anyway, that's one of the things that I developed in the radionic field. So this is pretty exciting stuff. We need to understand the difference between scalar informational fields, and scalar electromagnetic fields. So let's talk about scalar informational fields first, and what is information and the connection between them. And I have a little video here I'm going to play. It's 2 minutes that will talk a little bit about the theory of everything and what is information.
We need a new theory. And such a theory is what the physicists and mathematicians of quantum gravity research in Los Angeles are working on. They call it emergence theory, and it will, really for the first time ever, provide an explanation for the speed of light and the other constants, such as Planck's constant and the
Oh.
Can't hear.
You're not able to hear that,
No.
Steve? Oh, no. We tested this and it worked before.
Quantum gravity is what the
How about if I have my mic unmuted?
physicists and mathematicians of quantum gravity research in Los Angeles are working on. They call it emergence theory. We need a new theory.
Are you hearing that now?
Yes.
Okay, let's try it once more. I muted my mic because earlier when we tested this, it worked better with my mic muted. You said it was louder. Okay, one more time because this is really great stuff. I mean, really is valuable information. So one more time.
We need a new theory. And such a theory is what the physicists and mathematicians of quantum gravity research in Los Angeles are working on. They call it emergence theory, and it will, really for the first time ever, provide an explanation for the speed of light and the other constants, such as Planck's constant and the fine constant. A growing number of physicists are saying that reality is made of information. What does that even mean? Well, information is meaning in the form of symbolism. A language or code provide this kind of information conveying symbolism. A very different type of symbol is one that represents itself. Geometric symbols can do that. A cube can represent love, if we say it does, or it can represent, really with minimal subjectivity, itself. Could there be a language or code made out of geometry? What type of information would such a language express? Quantum physics theory and classical physics indicate that reality is made of information, and there's no evidence that reality is made of anything other than information. Many physicists agree with this, and many don't. But those that don't agree that reality is made of information have no explanation for what reality is, if it's not information. Gentlemen?
Reality is made of information. Nope. Yes, it is made of information. No. Okay, so what is it made of if not information? Energy. Energy is information. That's stupid. Energy is the potential for a particle to change its position. Potential is information. Energy is information. No. It's information. Then what is it? Not information. And what is it? Not information.
Okay. If it's not information, what is it? Okay, let's talk about scalar information. What is scalar? Okay, what is scalar? So let's imagine you have a dot in space, right? Let's say nothing existed, absolutely nothing, and there's just a dot in space, okay? That has no information. It's just a dot. But if we give that dot a designation, like the number 3, that is what the scalar field is. Starts creating a scalar gravitational field just by designating 3. In this case, if we gave it the number 3, by implication, it's giving you the number 2 on another dimension and the number 4 on another dimension if we only had 3 in this particular physical dimension. And that scalar is the informational field that starts the gravitational pull. Now, that's different than a vector, right? So in a vector, you need 2 points. You have 3, right? You've got your scalar of 3, but then you have a second point in time and space, and let's say that's 4. Then you have a vector, and that's where your vector waves come in. So a vector is different than scalar in that a vector moves from point A to point B, and then it gets smaller and smaller the further away it gets from the source. So an intrinsic data field is an informational field, and those informational structures, we believe, are the blueprints of manifestation, okay, sometimes called morphogenetic fields. They're the patterns that are pre-physical and contain only information. right? So there's only information in these fields, and yet they're the blueprints for putting everything into manifestation. And in some of my other talks, I've gone through the dissension of information into matter and how that works, but I don't have time to go through all that today. Maybe I can do that at the conference. I think when I'm going to be speaking at the conference this year, and so I think I can do that at the conference and go more into depth into that. I think that'll make more sense. Okay, so what is scalar electromagnetics in this case? Okay, so in the vector, we talked about point A to point B, direction of travel, and as that wave or whatever it is, we'll do electromagnetics, right? Is moving in the direction of travel, we get a magnetic field and an electrical field, and that is called a vector of electromagnetic field. But in scalar, yeah, right. We mentioned this, but as it gets further away from the source, you get a decrease in amplitude of that electromagnetic field. That's just the basis of electromagnetics, which you guys all know. I mean, I'm talking to a high level group here. Now, scalar is more like Tesla called it a standing wave, or it's a scalar wave is a little bit of a misnomer. Scalar frequency is a little bit of a misnomer, but it becomes point A and point B connected at the same time, at the same space. So, like, here's a visual that you might think of it this way. A normal electromagnetic field is like a drop of water, and as those rings go out, they get smaller and smaller, right? That's a normal electromagnetic field. But a scalar field is the entire pond, okay? It's almost like a pressure wave over the entire pond at the same time. And so any change in one side would change the entire field at the same time. It's an allegory, but they're hard to explain, but that's kind of a way of thinking about it. So how do we produce these? We produce these scalar fields, or this scalar field, we'll just call it one field for now, by using what's called a caduceus coil antenna, which is an antenna wound on top of itself. So every time there's a signal going up, there's a signal going down at the same time, and then they cross. So what you get out of it, 180 degrees out of phase, is a zero electromagnetic field, okay? So in electromagnetics, in current electromagnetic mathematics, they don't include this component, but they did back in the day. During Maxwell's time, during Tesla's time, they had this extra component in here, because what happens with this electromagnetic field, okay? So let's say this is a sine wave, right? Now what happens if every time I push this direction, I push this direction, and I release this direction, and I release this direction at the same time, right? So I'm going to see, normally if I'm pushing, it would go like this, but if I push equally and release at the same time, of course I can't do it perfectly, but there's no movement, right? But what is there? There's pressure. There's pressure on the time-space continuum. And in that pressure is what we call zero-point energy. And that's where you can tap into free energy. You can tap into action at a distance. You can input information at point A, and it instantly arrives at point B. That's what we talk about when we talk about scalar electromagnetic energy and the zero-point energy. Now, Professor Dr. Konstantin Mail, he's been at the Tesla conferences before. I met him at one of them, but I've also taken some of his classes and worked with him somewhat. We did some experiments together. He's the only person that I know that taught scalar electromagnetic theory at the university level. And he was teaching in Furtwangen, Germany, at the university there, and happens to be teaching at the same university as my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law also is a professor at that university. But I have to say that even at the university, I talked to my brother-in-law about it, and he doesn't want to know anything about Dr. Mail. He's like the kook, he's the guy that's on the outside. Anyway, he has retired since then. Last I talked to him, he was in India, and I'm not sure what he's doing right now. But anyway, he was teaching scalar electromagnetic fields. You guys have probably seen these things when you buy a product and you open it up and you see this little antenna on there. And if it's not deactivated and you walk out of the store, the alarms go off, right? Well, there's no battery in this antenna. How does this little antenna talk to these microwave towers and set off an alarm? And how could it be deactivated and reactivated? Well, he helped that has to do with scalar informational fields, and he helped with the development of that. This is the inside of the SE5, and this is our one of our scalar amplifiers. We've got a couple of them, but these are actually 3 scalar amplifiers in here, active scalar amplifiers, and this is from the top. And as you can see, they kind of look similar to Dr. Mail's antenna, but these are active. We actually produce, there's an antenna on both sides of this printed circuit board, and we put in the frequencies equally onto both sides of them and collapse the electromagnetic field, and there are 3 of those in the SE5. So this is the SE5 2000, and so it has these scalar amplifiers in it, and yeah, that's basically the overview. So I've been working with this since 1987, when I met my mentor, and then he introduced me to Bill Lawson, and I worked with Bill for 25 years. And so the SE5 is a kind of a standalone unit. You work together with the computer or without the computer. You can use it either way. And so we got this idea, what would happen if we took the balancing part of it, the scalar amplifiers and the basic balancing engine from the SE5, and we created a central hub. Let's call it a hub, a central hub where people could go online and then choose a program that they wanted to run on themselves. And then if we had enough instruments, it could go to one of those instruments and balance that person. So that's what we did. So in remote balancing, with a lot of people, you need a lot of instruments. So these are what we call the quantum internet servers. And each one of these little lights here is an SE5 in a server, in a rack-mounted server. So I developed these rack server Radionic units, and then we've connected them up, and they're not all in one place. So we've spread them out around the world. So we've got some in Canada, some in America, some in India, some in China, some in Taiwan. And so these are spread out all over the world so that they're decentralized. Because of the suppression that some of the other people have had and how things have gone, we've got them set up all over. So what happens is if you go in and you say, I want to run a chakra balance program, for example, and you upload your photo, then it goes and finds an open server unit and starts balancing you. So these are just some of the servers we have set up, and here I'll play this one too. So we don't need the sound on that one. These are just some of the servers that we have set up for radionic balancing, and we were just setting these up, so it's a little bit of a mess in there, but we've got a lot of these set up around the world. Just to give you an idea. So we've balanced, at this point, last count was, I'm sorry. We've balanced over 7 million people throughout the world at this point. So we've got a lot of backlog, and it's working very well. Okay, I'm back on. Did I lose my show? Do I need to restart it again?
You need to restart.
Okay, sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button. Share screen. Pick the right one. That should work. Okay, good. So Einstein called this spooky accent at a distance. It's in the mathematics, but he didn't like it. Nobody really likes it when you go to the physics level, because it's too weird. It's just weird stuff, and it's kind of hard to control. But does it work? I've got a lot of testimonials. I have to play this one too. This is really fun. So we have different programs, and one of them is to improve your golf skill, right? So this guy did that one, and
Elliot, when you were receiving radionics that helped your back pain and you got your hole-in-one, just on technology.
I was just thinking about that this morning. I was telling my wife, I said, I think Elliot's the guy that got the improved golf game and hit his only first and only hole in one, right? But now that wasn't
Correct.
that wasn't
Wow.
miniature golf, right?
No.
This was a real golf course. So approximately how far was this?
It was probably, I think it was about 165 yards.
That's unreal. That's unbelievable. I mean, really, that it just blows me away. Really.
Yeah, it was the perfect shot. Everything was beautiful. It hit a high shot, kind of a draw. And then we got up to the green. You can see the ball mark, and it broke right to left. You see where it landed, and then how it rolled right into the hole. Perfect shot.
That is amazing. Okay, so Elliot, I got to tell you this. Is it possible I can get this as a testimonial? Because this is just amazing.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So this was one I just got last week, March 25th, or this week, whatever. And a lot of people say, well, it could be placebo effect, right? And plants don't really respond well to placebo. Either something's happening or it's not. Anyway, I got this one. I just had an email to let you know the next story. The result of Selwyn's garden is nothing short of incredible and amazing. The programs you ran for it has made not only the hedges, but everything come alive. You can see the patches of old dark green leaves and scale with sooty mold in the hedge, but has been almost covered with new growth. So that's how it looked like, those dark things back in the background. And this was over one month. So it really took off. And then she said, but once again, it's like homeopathy and steroids. That's how she sees it. With remedies I was spraying on these, there was marginal improvement, but my hands were giving out in the process of all that spraying, and nowhere near the results that we've got using your program. So this hedge was looking just horrible, and you can see part of it has not yet recovered, but there's so much new growth and it's coming back. And same thing with the ferns and everything. Just phenomenal. This was a good one. The abundance and prosperity results. We have a program for increase of prosperity and result and abundance were incredible and undeniable. I cannot tell you the amount of money that fell into the laps of me, my mother, and my husband. Everything from an escrow adjustment to a car insurance claim that hadn't been done properly in their system. So they increased the payout amount significantly. It was a lifesaver and so uncanny. Anyway, I have, like hundreds of these kinds of things. This is not just an isolated event. And these are all from the Quantum Wellness Hub. So what is the Quantum Wellness Hub? Well, I tried to describe that. So you can go on here and basically how it works is you choose programs, and then we set them up for you, and you get 4 programs each month. So the first week we balance the first program 3 times every other day. So you're getting balanced basically every other day with a different program, or one program each time 3 times for that week, and then we go to the next program and the next program and the next program. And then we run those programs for you on our servers. And we've got a lot of categories. Now, these are categories, not programs, right? So if you went to allergy balance, then you need to look at which program you want to run, not the whole thing. It's not just for allergies. You can choose more than one, but you get 4 programs. So these are the categories. These are the programs. So if we go to allergies, you could choose immunoglobulin balancing and dermatitis balancing as 2 of your programs. But I guess you get the difference. So this is a category, and these are the programs. So you choose 4 programs from these, and we've got a lot of different programs. And you guys can go to the replay to really look at these, and go to the website. They're all on the website, so you can see them, which ones. But the increased cash flow one, increase abundance and prosperity was the one that she was running, but I've had a lot of testimonials from increased cash flow and business stability. ones as well, and a lot of health ones, which at the end I'll flash some more testimonials, but I don't want to take up all of our time going through these because I want to answer some of your questions. So anyway, you get 4 programs each month. It's $49.95 per month, but for Steve, what I'm going to do is you're going to get 80% off the first month. So you can do this for $10 and try it out, and use the code Tesla during checkout to get your 80% off. But make sure you go to this link using Steve's link for Tesla Tech, because he's going to get 25% of the money of whatever goes on forever, because I want to support the Tesla Foundation and support Steve in this. And so he's going to get 25% of this every month for as long as you are subscribed. And most of our people, I have to say, probably 80 to 85% of the people that have signed up are still doing this even after 3 years. They stay with it because they're getting the results. They love it. There are some people that don't. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. It's not like push button and it works. It works for a big percentage of the people. I've seen it work for a lot of people, lots and lots and lots. But these are general programs, right? So we've created these programs, and over the last 35 years, we've tuned them to find out what, let's say a person has a headache, right? Well, we know basically in general what has shown up for many, many people over these years, a lot of practitioners, and we've put together programs with the general tunings that seem to work for those people. And so that's why we've put together these programs. They're general. They're not specific. They're not like doing an analysis with the SE5 specifically for you to find out exactly what your problems are. And if you really want that, we do have practitioners for that will help you with really deep things. But try these programs. We've got a lot of programs, and they work for most of the people. But don't get discouraged if it doesn't work right away. Or we ask people you can cancel anytime, but we ask people to try it for at least 3 months, because over that 3-month period, you're gonna see which things work and what things don't work. And if one program didn't work, try a different program in that category, because again, they're general programs. They're not specific for you, but they do work for a lot of people. I'm really excited about that. And so that's why we've made this available for people on a mass scale. The other bonus I'm going to give you guys is I have a quantum wellness course that teaches you and goes more into depth about all of this information. Normally I charge $295 for this course. It's in our Radionic school, and we have like 35, 40 courses on Radionics in there, and a lot of them are free. But go to radionic.online, and that course is at Quantum Medicine, but you can look around at a lot of the different ones. Use the code Tesla again, and you'll get into the course for free. And there are other free courses in there as well about some demos of the SE5 and how it works, and how, like I did one on mitochondria and how that could be possibly worked with Radionics, for example. That's a free course. Anyway, that was at the USPA conference a couple years ago. So anyway, we've got a lot of different courses. Like I said, about 35 of them. I have several teachers, Ludi Larson, Jan van der Est, myself, doing courses in there in our school. Okay, so I'm going to flash these up here, but I want you guys to go back and read them in the replay, because I don't want to take the time. I want to take your personal questions. Okay, so here's the one about the horse, and they only gave it a few days. They were going to put it down, and came back to life, and it's still alive. This was years later. Here's another one for cash coming in. Another one. This one about a little baby that more or less came back to life. Doctors were amazed. This one was from a leukemia test, and the test went down to 0. He's been doing this for 3 years and stays on it every month. His results are still 0, basically 0. Luna had pancreatitis. I can't say that sometimes. Pancreatitis. I always miss the other T. These were the before lab tests, and these were after a month of balancing, and these were the results. Has improved, shown by the specific FPL. Liver function shows improvement. Still needed some kidney functions that had increased a little bit, and sometimes that happens as things start to go into balance. One part of the system starts working a little bit harder, right? Because it's coming into action to help the other parts of the system. But overall, there are positive changes in the pancreas, but still needs monitoring. This guy was just, oh man, he was a mess. Anyway, he lost 16 pounds of water in 16 days, in the first 16 days of running his programs. And he was able to get up the stairs later, and is just doing just so much better. I mean, amazing. Again, we're not making any claims here, no medical claims, but people seem to report. These are all reports from people. What do you call it? I never asked for any testimonials. These are just people writing to me. Okay. This one, his doctor told him he had to get a new job. That was his treatment because he was just really not doing well. And then that was on the 14th of January, and he wasn't doing well. We ran some sleep programs, and that was good. Or he ran, we ran some programs for him. And then they asked for a custom session, so when you do a custom session, then we do an analysis and find out what a person needs, and we remove those blockages or whatever it is. And this was on the 28th of January of this year. And then on February 3rd, he got the job. But he definitely improved overall so many things from that session, from the custom session. And yeah, anyway. Another one that she's just feeling a lot better. She's an oldie goldie, and she said that modern medicine had failed her, and she was feeling so much better. This was a cool one too. Again, I'll let you read everything, but basically he had kidney stones. And now this was an SE5 practitioner. It was the mom was an SE5 practitioner with the SE5, and this was her son. She started balancing. The pain went away, but then she stopped balancing. And then eventually he said, look, the doctor says they're going to go up through the penis and jackhammer these stones. And he's going, oh, this doesn't sound good. And so she put him back on. He asked her to put back on the tunings. And then she went back to a different doctor. And basically they had either passed or disappeared. We've had things demanifest, which I've talked about in some of the other videos. So that's it for the show, Steve. So I can answer some questions maybe now of people.
Does anyone have questions? Just throw them up in the comments, and we'll get them answered for you.
What's the address for that $9.99 offer? Can you paste that in there again, Steve? Or
I did already. They just need to roll up on it, and it'll be there.
Yeah, it was. Well, maybe I'm not scrolling down enough, or I'm not able to scroll on mine. So, okay. Then if you're able to see those, maybe paste it in again. Let me see. Oh, there I can. Okay, great. How to use AI in Radionics. Okay, yes, I know. I knew that was coming up. So what I've done, that's my next major push, which I'm not going to go into depth on this recording because I want you guys to come to the Tesla conference where I'm going to go into depth. I'm going to have equipment there where you can try it out. You go hands-on. I've got my newest, latest, greatest instrument, which is the next evolution beyond the SE5. It's called the universal quantum interface. And it's like, okay, it's a little bit like Radionics for dummies, I must say. So it's a unit where you can just choose programs and run them, but it also has an AI interface where you can type in, for example, you can say, this is already on the website I'm developing, where you can go to the little AI chatbot and say, okay, I have this problem. Which programs would be best for me to run on my Yuki? We call it the Yuki, the Universal Quantum Interface. And it'll give you some feedback on that problem. It searches the internet, looks for what might be helpful and which programs we have, and then it can tell you which programs you might want to run on yourself. The other thing that we've done then is you can write in the Yuki itself, you can go to AI. Instead of choosing a program to run, you can go to AI and you can type in your issue, and it'll actually converse with you back and forth and ask you questions. Okay, so how long have you had this problem? What kind of things have you done for it already? It goes into its own thing. It's not pre-programmed to stick to a protocol. It has some questions that we always want to know, but generally it has a conversation with you, and when it's gathered enough information, it'll actually produce a radionic program for you. And what we've done in the SE5 already for the last 20 years, we have a radionic tuning generator, which takes informational fields from a word or a sentence, and it'll convert that into a radionic tuning. And then we've gone one step further with the new universal quantum interface. So in the movie, you see that they're talking about geometric patterns and them being informational fields. And so what we've experimented with over the last 30 years is how geometric patterns can create energetic balancing. And we found that geometric patterns are even more effective than number tunings. So what we do then, the AI comes up with the things that need to be balanced. We convert those into numerical tunings. And when you run the program, it'll actually convert those numerical tunings into geometric patterns as well. So we're taking this up a level, up a level, up a level. And I'm going to have those at the conference, Steve, for people to try out and purchase at the show as well. And we might even offer a discount there. I'll have to see if that works or not. But yeah, it's phenomenal stuff.
Here's a question for you. Have you ever worked with Dr. Richard Allen Miller?
I do not know him. I don't know who Richard Allen Miller is, and I know a lot of people in this field, but I don't know his name whatsoever. What's a custom session price? Okay, there are two different levels. So a custom session would be for the Quantum Wellness Hub is $200, and we do an analysis, and you get a program. You get a program for that, which I recommend people use it for 3 to 4 months in conjunction with their other programs. So I don't recommend using that program every single week, ever. Like just running it over and over, sort of like listening to the same song over and over. You tune it out. So you'd run that program for the first week, let's say, and next week choose a program from the list, and then the third week choose your custom program again. So that's what you get for $200. So then we have radionic practitioners. If you want an actual radionic practitioner and they work together with you, then they adjust that program as needed, and they basically take you on as a client, and that's a different kind of little different process. Everybody charges differently. I know it goes anywhere from $350 to $1,200. I know some practitioners, and of course you get more things with that package. I don't know what all we have different practitioners. They all charge different prices. I just noticed, Steve, here in my lower left-hand corner here, you see that little white device over there? You see that instrument?
Yeah, I see that.
That's the Universal Quantum Interface, and I'll bring that. And it's running a program right now, but I'll bring that next time to the show.
Can
okay.
a persisted detector be used with other radionic devices?
No, I mean, we don't sell it to anyone that doesn't have an SE5, and the reason for that is you have to have our SE5 software to calibrate it to you. So because everyone's different, everyone's stick is different. The amount of pressure they put on it to begin with, when they're, it's a galvanic skin response as well as a sweat response, and everybody's different. It's consistent with each person, but it's different for every person. So we need to calibrate that to your stick, for each person, and we need the software to do that. And so only people that have SE5s get the precision stick detector. Yeah. Got more?
Yeah. Do you remember Jerry Friedenstein?
Yeah, Jerry, of course. I met Jerry back in Friedenstein, actually, is how you say it.
Einstein.
I,
Okay.
I always thought it was Friedenstein too. Jerry, I met Jerry back in 1987 or so before he passed away. And then his son Robert, and I just talked with Robert yesterday or the day before. Robert took over everything. And they've used the SE5 for, well, whatever, 35 years since the late 80s as well. And so I just talked with Robert. Day before yesterday, his son, and he's still using the SE5 and still teaching, and just like Jerry did. Yeah,
I have a lot of his videos from when he was at Global Sciences in the past. Yeah.
that's awesome. I want to go through all those too because I spoke at Global several times. Both my wife and I did, and I need to go back through there and see if some of those videos are in there, back from the day when I had a beard.
Hey, and like I say, I have from like 1987. I think I might through
Yeah. Okay.
2002. I'm putting the
Yeah.
2002 on next month.
Oh, was that the one in Florida? Because the last one after Dean died, I think his kids put on one more in Florida, and I did
That'll be
that
the
one.
last one, Global Wings.
Global Wing. Okay, so
Yeah.
I was there, and I think I gave a presentation also. I'm sure I did at that one too. Not 100% sure. I spoke at a lot of them.
Yeah, I really missed those when he passed away.
Oh boy, I miss Dean.
Big
I mean,
hole.
he was just a gem. Um, all those guys, Bob Beck came to those, and Tom Bearden, and oh gosh, so many people. Marcel Vogel. We got to meet all those guys back in the day. I mean, it was just amazing, amazing. Um,
And I was
yeah,
thinking,
Elk Bird.
the one conference you're thinking about was in California. That might have been the Borland Sciences Conference. He had one, I think, maybe. I think only
Could
had one.
be. Tom Brown also lives here in Bali, so we're good friends. Also, I've known Tom also for 30, 40 years, whatever.
Oh, well, if you
And
see him, tell him I
yeah,
said hi.
it was what you?
If you see him, tell him I said hi.
Oh, I definitely will. I definitely see him. Yeah, we see each other regularly. He lives at the other part of the island, so not as often as we used to. But yes, rest in peace, Dean Stonier. Thank
Oh.
you. Yeah,
So does
but
anyone
yeah,
else have any more questions here, or
yeah, we're just about the top of the hour. But yeah, I hope this enlightens some people about the other side of scalar. What I didn't talk about is, you know, scalar is a catchword now. I mean, it's to sell products on. I have a list of like on one of my other presentations of like 20 or 30 products where they're selling scalar products, which really have very little or nothing to do with scalar, but some of them do, but some of them don't. And I'm still not sure about this energy enhancement system, which they say is a scalar device. But I listened to a Cliff High. You know who Cliff High is, Steve?
no? I don't. Not him at
Oh,
all.
okay. Oh, Cliff High. You gotta look up his stuff. Um, he's amazing. He created a bot and it searches the internet every single day, all over the whole internet, to predict the future. He thinks that our languaging, we already know the future and we talk about it in advance, and he puts together the algorithms to search our languaging to predict the future. And he's had just like amazing things happening. I mean, just crazy things. But anyway, on one of his podcasts, he he had sent his friend who was a radar technician to check out the EE system, this energy enhancement system. These are those screens, They were at the conference last year too. They had a couple of them, and I didn't bring my equipment to test them myself. But anyway, he had some radar detecting equipment as long as a bunch of other stuff. But when he got there, he got out his equipment, and turned it on, and started walking toward the building, and there were these super high radar readings, and so he wouldn't go in because he was a radar technician and know that those are dangerous. But and it may or may not have been from those EES systems, so we'll never find out. But until somebody really tests those, I want to, with some real equipment and up close, which maybe I'll do at the conference next year if somebody brings one. We need to know if there's real scalar, first of all, and or if electromagnetic fields. I mean, radar, a lot of people that I've talked to, I mean, they're really popular now, and a lot of people are getting great results with it, and some people are not, but that's like everything. But we need to find out what it is. I'm happy to endorse it if I know what it's doing. But until then, I'm just a little cautious. When somebody says that there were high radar readings, I'm a little bit. I take a step back until I've tested it. But yeah. Anyway.
Well, I kind of believe, I don't know if future memory would be so much as sometimes when you look at all this information coming in, you get a feel for what's going to happen, and so maybe that's what it's not really a memory so much as anticipation from common knowledge right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Well, and I really appreciated your show last week about AI and your discussions. That was very enlightening, and we all have those concerns. I mean, it's not like I'm like this pro AI guy and I want everything to do with AI. I want to use it as a tool, and I think it's an amazing tool. Just like the computer you're watching it on right now, what that we're doing with YouTube, all these things. They're all tools for us. But when it comes down to AI becoming sentient or conscious or whatever they're talking about, this is a big fallacy and it's a big joke.
I don't know. Do you watch Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, I know lots of movies show that, but where I come from, which is the other side of this dimension, um, we know that consciousness is primary and it manifests everything from consciousness downward, not the other way up. So you can build a tool, but to inhabit it, um, you know, this life force, this seed of life, which we call consciousness, creating life, is the primary creator, and we're not going to replicate that from the bottom up. It doesn't work that way. That's at least that's my full-on belief, and from my experience of many journeys onto the other side of this dimension. So that's how I see it.
Here's a comment for you. Have you ever had a case of organ regenerating with your programs?
You know, the Grovig Grov how does you guys say that guy's name? The Russian guy, Grobivny, Grobiniv codes. I know he has done a lot of that. Those are basically radionic codes of which you can repeat to yourself, and he's claimed a lot of organ regrowth. I think I've only heard of one person regrowing a tooth with the SE5, but not other organs that I've verified myself. Now, quick healing is a whole nother thing. We had in China, they did somebody had broken their leg, I think it was. They took X-rays, and they did SE5 radionic balancing, and basically sealed up that fracture, and it disappeared within 24 hours, I think it was. And they took another X-ray. So that's where I've seen like, wow, quick, full-on visual kinds of things. But regrowing organs, yeah. Grebenovkov. Okay. Yeah. Grabenovkov or something like that. He has a Russian name. I'm not very good with those. Grabavoy. Okay. Yeah, I think Grabavoy. I think you guys are getting this. Anyway, try some of those codes. You can use them in the SE5. We have them in a database as well. Great codes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to call it a night. Okay. I want to remind everyone we have a conference coming up. Get signed up for it. The sooner the better. We start at 30% discount. And if you had bring an extra person, you get extra 5% off. So
awesome.
So it's a good deal. And like I say, we're still working on getting you the best possible rate at the hotel. We'll see how that all works out. And I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. So anyway, thank you all, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. And I'll hope to see some of you guys at the conference in August, because I'm going to be there, and we're going to have